Good evening, everyone. Before we get started today, I believe Councilman Walker will lead us in prayer. I ask everyone please stand for the pledge. Again, thank you everyone for being here tonight. We have Councilwoman Sproul will not be with us tonight. She had a procedure, and we just want to send our prayers out to her. Our first item on the agenda would be to consider approval of minutes for the March 19, 2024 regular session. The council, if we had a chance to review those minutes, the floor would be open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the March 19th regular session meeting that has been presented.
All right, we have a motion made by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 The vote is unanimous. We'll now close item 1 on the agenda. This time we'll be going to item 2. Item 2 is our public comments. The City Council welcomes citizens' participation and comments at all council meetings. Citizens' comments are limited to 2 minutes out of respect for everyone's time. The council is not permitted to respond to your comments. The Texas Open Meetings Act requires that topics of discussion and deliberation be posted on an agenda not less than 72 hours in advance of the council meeting. If your comments relate to a topic that is on the agenda, the council will discuss the topic on the agenda at the time the topic is discussed and deliberated. At this time, if you would like to speak, please come up and state your name and address and give the council your concerns. No, ma'am. No, sir. I'm sorry, sir. No, sir. We're not transferring time. We're just limited it to 2 minutes, and you can definitely come up and speak.
Debbie Corbell from the City of Mount Pleasant. Not receiving the exact information that I was looking for in my previous request regarding work conducted on Alexander Road at a location where property is owned by the Sproul family, I refined my request and resubmitted, which I don't expect to be provided until the very last moment as usual. Besides having an outside contractor at that location in January, work continued in July with employees and equipment at that same site, which is documented. In addition, there was a non-employee witness to the work and the location. In the early morning of July the 12th, that witness did go to the work site, not only watched and documented what work was going on, the vehicles that were there, but also had the ability and did fly over the site to view the work. That person is willing to share the information when needed. Soon I will also be asking you about documents that I've recovered from TriSud and from the Titus County Freshwater District. They concern a January 17th letter, 2024, sent by Ed Thatcher to the TriSud regarding recent raw water increases passed on to the city by the Freshwater District. My question is, was there really an increase in the raw water rates, or was that a one-time COLA raise that was given to the retirees of the Freshwater District? I asked the council and the manager how much more, how much longer, how many more investigations, how many more lawsuits does our city have to suffer under y'all's reign?
Thank you, Ms. Corbell. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comments at this time and move on to item 3 on the agenda. Item 3 is a presentation by Larry McGuffin.
Mayor and Council, while Larry's coming up, just wanted to remind you, Mr. McGuffin came to work for the city back in 2018, I think, first started. He is the person that does our street light and audits. and also does our franchise fee audits. Helped us get a franchise document that we were out of the franchise agreement with CenterPoint had expired in mid 2015 or 16, and he helped us get that back in place and approved. If you remember, some of you were involved in that. Anyway, we thought it'd be a good time. We don't have a lot on the agenda. He's the only one. But we asked him to come and just kind of tell us some of the work he's been doing. He's been working all along this time, and it's been good news. We've told you when the good news has come, and we've got rebates and so forth. But we'd have him come and just tell some of the work he's been doing. And you can ask him any questions he has. Larry, good to have you here. Thank you.
Just keep it pressed? Okay, all right, sorry. Yeah, I like what I do. This is a lot of fun. Sometimes the numbers tell me something different than what I want them to, but I have to spend a little bit more time on it. But anyhow, it's great to be able to come and share some good news with you. And I appreciate it, Mayor, City Manager, and council members to have this opportunity. Sorry about that. So we started in 2018 with the streetlight audit, and all the way through 2024, we have 7 audits that we have completed or are about to be completed. 2 of them are still active. And the first audit was the CenterPoint gas audit. It was for businesses within the city limits. And just a little short note, we had a lot of them, and we did a lot of telemarketing. Do you have gas or do you have electricity? And most people were pretty helpful on that, and some people going, who is this? So we did the same gas audit down in Longview, and they actually called the city and said somebody's personating city employees and things of that nature. So, but anyhow, we were able to go out and we actually geotagged all the gas meters, even though the gas company had it. And then we took all that data and sent it back to them, and we worked back and forth. And basically the refund on that was a little bit less than $1,000, but still it was a great opportunity to make sure that everything was in place. Some of the data was mixed up in terms of addresses, but still they had a gas meter. And then we started another audit identifying what they call large account customers. And large account customers are customers that use more than 1 MCF. I call it million cubic foot, but it's 1,000 cubic foot is what I've been told. But anyhow, of gas. And it's a lot more than that, some of these locations here in town. So we identified that list of those customers. And then what we did is we started another audit. We identified those customers. We looked at the ordinance agreement and realized, based upon what Ed had mentioned, is that it was out of compliance. So Ed and his team worked real hard in getting that back into compliance. And then we went back after a year and validated what they said they were going to pay for the period that they were going to pay it for all these large account customers. And that was a real interesting exercise in data, but it turned out to be spot on. So they're doing what they said they were supposed to be doing, and so that audit was completed and closed. But out of that audit, the city gets, on average, and of course it depends on these large accounts, how much gas they use or don't use, but I looked at the list before I came tonight, and it was $114,000 a year is roughly what the city's going to be receiving. A little more, a little less. If you get more large companies in using a lot of gas, then that transportation of that gas, they'll be paying some higher. This number will be a lot higher. One franchise audit that we're working on right now is SWEPCO's franchise fees that they pay the city, and we're in the middle of working on that right now. It's just some of the numbers don't look right, and so we've fired off several Ed's fired off several emails to ask for information. First one, we got back what the ordinance said. The second one, they're probably gonna send us the information that we need, which, you know, is gonna be, pretty interesting and helpful when they do. So that one's still active. We'll probably, see some, refund from that, and that's just my guess, but, the numbers look that way. In 2018, we did a streetlight audit, like I'd mentioned, and at the same time, we did a fire hydrant audit. So we didn't do all the fire hydrants, but we probably got 90% of them, maybe a little more, a little less. But we wanted to make sure that we could, if y'all ever called for us to do a fire hydrant audit, that we could do that and collect the data the way it needed to be collected. And this data can be used very effectively by the fire department, going out, doing the maintenance, doing scheduled maintenance on these fire hydrants and collecting data from that standpoint to keep them upgraded or in good working shape. Also, this information can be pushed into your computer system that are on the fire trucks and actually used for where's the fire plug when we come around, or fire hydrant when we come around the corner. Usually you can see it, but if there's a lot of smoke, you know where it's at with these geotag fire hydrants that we gave y'all from that standpoint.
Or if there's grass and brush growing up around it and you can't see it, it'll locate it on the, because it's hooked into the satellite.
Yeah, our system, that's one of the things we looked at, is once we got the information, how can that be utilized to help the city or the fire department in the city do their job a lot more effectively? And I think y'all already have been managing that right now. So we also did a streetlight audit, and during that audit, we found a lot of overbillings and underbillings. And I want to, y'all can read, I'm sure you have it down here, but I want to make sure it's really interesting. There is a PUC regulation 25.28 talks about overbilling, and that's where the exact language is. But if you think about this for a second, then you understand what we're looking for a little bit. It helps me a little bit more clear. A streetlight overbilling is when a utility charges a customer for a streetlight that was removed by the utility for a reason, but the utility continues to bill the customer for that specific light type, which results in the city paying for lights not in the field. And then the underbilling is just the opposite. They install it, but forget to enter it into the accounting system. And so these PUC regulations are very specific about what the utility can do and can't do when they actually account for overbillings and underbillings. And so that's part of our job. So in 2018, the city received a check for $152,000, and I just rounded these off. We did another audit in 2022 for the city. And SWEPCO did their own audit. And it's not just SWEPCO. A lot of utilities do their own audit. And I just buy into the strategy and or the principle that says that, you know, if you're going to do an audit, then you don't let the company do their own audit. The city doesn't get to do their own accounting audit and then give it to the state. You know, from that standpoint, you have to hire people to do it or sign off on it or so forth. So self-audits in the streetlight environment are great, but you need somebody coming in behind it to verify and validate, and that's what we did. So in this audit that probably will end sometime next week, Ed has it on his desk, and there's an acceptance letter that needs to be reviewed and signed, but the city will get an additional $133,000 back on that audit. And what this does is it gives the utility and the city a better feeling about a baseline inventory. But one thing that's occurring right now, and I'll end at that, is that all the high pressure sodium, mercury vapor, metal halide type lights are being replaced by LED lights. In a lot of ways, LED lights are a lot cheaper. But when you look at the rates are higher, and the facility charges are a lot higher. In some cases, 40 to 30 to 45% higher. And so they're replacing your lights with LED lights now. So at some point, you got to make sure you go back and take a look at the footprint of the lights out and that they kept the correct count of these lights. Because what you don't want them to do is replace LED lights, not take the old lights off the bill, and you're still paying for 2 lights. So that's an overbilling from that standpoint. So thank you. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
I got one. You mentioned you geotag the gas meters, did I understand you correctly? So is there a process in place as new meters are added, they also get geotagged, or?
Yes, we did it so that we could understand and map our information so we could push it back to the gas company and they could compare the longitude and latitudes with their longitude and latitudes. But the gas company has their own geotagging process. They know where these lights are, and they're electronically fed with information as well. I think some of the new ones are. I don't know what y'all have out there. Some of them look pretty new, but.
And will they provide us with that file of the geotag location so we also as a city can have that to refer to or reference to if needed?
Yes, that's part of the ordinance, and in there, this is just paraphrased, it gives the city the opportunity to ask for any amount of data they want. You just have to be, what I found out, a couple of kind of shots into the gas company asking for information, you have to be real specific. And it's kind of like you leave a comma off and you get all this other data. So you have to be real specific. Yes, they'll give you that information.
We appreciate the work you've done on this. This has put a lot of money back in the city's hands that was just out there floating around that definitely wasn't going to be recovered, and naturally wasn't going to be until it's caught. And like you say, probably no ill intention, but you have a fox guarding the hen house, you know what's going to happen, and and I don't think that was necessarily the case by no means, but just the checks and balance is what we're after for the taxpayer dollar here, and that's quite a sum there of the 133 coming to us again after just 2 or 3 years here. So we appreciate what you're doing on this. And
I'm just going to say that you made the point that for us is that we really thought that we wouldn't get another big find after we just did the one in 2018. I don't know that we've ever done one before, so that ended in 2019, and we thought this won't be anything. But it turned out that there is another 132,000, which tells us that every couple of years we've got to do this again to make sure we're okay, because there's so many lights all over northeast Texas or in their area that they just for whatever reason we lose some. So my concern is Larry and his partners are as old as I am, and so I asked them what their plan is as far as bringing people up in the program, because we need to continue to do this in order to make sure we're getting the revenue we're supposed to get.
my understanding too is something just like a storm can come through and do a lot of damage, and when they come back through, maybe those lights have been there for quite some time, and what do? They come back and they put up the new LEDs and all, and in the hurrying of the moment of rush, get it done, get lighting up, then it falls through the cracks, and that's what these audits are for too, is to catch those kind of, but just to hurry up, get them back up, and then they'll get it back in the system, so to speak, and a lot of it the ball gets dropped, and that ball has got a lot of money attached to it, and as we see here in a lot of these instances.
The utility companies, not just the one here, but all over that I've dealt with, have a very difficult job managing all this. You're absolutely right. And just to have these checks and balances helps them as much as it helps their customers. And so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGuffin. We appreciate you. Okay, we'll go ahead and close item 3. on the agenda, and we'll move on now to item 4, which is our final item for today, which is our city manager's report. Mr. Stack.
Mayor and council, I just wanted to remind everybody that this next Monday is the solar eclipse that we've been waiting for the last year or so, knowing it's coming. There are several activities around the city. Different groups are having eclipse watching parties, if you will, and we've helped some of those, in some of the things they've needed to do on that. The city we recognized this was an issue over a year ago. I forget, Chief, when we started doing that, but it was well over a year ago that we started meeting Chief Buman, Chief McRae, and the people involved in our safety and welfare and traffic and those kind of things. So we had, how many people on the committee, Larry? And so they've met and reported back and to put the plan into place. So just in dealing with the people, being prepared for the people and getting the word out, because there's supposed to be a lot of people in Northeast Texas, somewhere between 17 and 50,000 people in Northeast Texas. So we think we're ready, and just wanted to let you know, remind you that it's next week. Hotels are full, and I understand that the prices are high, but they're all full, and yeah, we should get good tax revenue on that. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
I don't really have a question, but as we were talking about switching streetlights over to LED, it brought to mind, I had a conversation with SWEPCO today. They have, this is just kind of a PSA to all citizens. SWEPCO has programs in place where you can do insulation in your home for nearly no cost. If you have a business, you need to do a LED swap, they have that. If you need to swap air conditioner and go with heat pumps instead of gas heat, they've got programs for that. So I just wanted to make sure if you're in a home that needs some updates, don't be afraid to call SWEPCO and ask them, how can you help me with this? Because I asked the question of, why are you doing this? What makes you want to do this? And the statement was that it's cheaper to lower the usage than it is to go out and build $1 billion facility, power plant. So if you need some updates and you've been waiting because you're trying to save some money, call SWEPCO, because they can help you. They want to help you.
All right, thank you for that information, Councilman Adams. Okay, if we don't have any further questions, we'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda, and we'll be open the floor for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Don't move.